the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
Analysis of guys as we get through the dog days of summer before Vol Hoops is back here in several more months than Vol football. But Ryan, you being more of the basketball guy here, Jordan Gainey year one, what was your takeaways from him making the jump up? Obviously, being the son of wow, why am I blanking on Jordan Gainey? Justin Gainey. I didn't want to say Justin. It didn't sound right. Justin Gainey, and the associate head coach, and looking at what he ultimately did in year one, making the jump up from USC Upstate. What did you make as the early returns? How did he improve as the season along? What were your strong takeaways as how Justin Gainey made the jump, or Jordan Gainey made the jump at Tennessee this fall?
I think when you talk about where he improved, it's night and day what he was on the defensive end of the court. I think he came into the season with maybe not quite as many questions as Dalton Knecht on the defensive side of the ball, but a guy you talked about in the same sentence with how can he handle Tennessee's defensive system. By the end of the year, I thought he was really solid on the defensive end. Obviously not one of the elite guys, but good. And he played good defense in the NCAA tournament. I think that not that he spent even 50% of the time on him, but, for portions of that Creighton game, he was on Trey Alexander, and I thought he played great defense. It was a big part of Tennessee's ability to shut down Alexander in that game, which is a big reason why they won. So I think that was the positive of where he grew. Offense was very hit or miss. He started the season well. He just had such a cold stretch in SEC play where it just seemed like he couldn't get an outside shot to go. It got better. It still, he became a guy that could hit some shots. Obviously, he hit, I think, 2 threes in the second half of the Purdue game, if I'm not mistaken. There were, he was kind of a guy that in a handful of games, he hit some big shots for Tennessee. And it did. I think that's maybe the thing you say the most. It felt like he was playing some of his better basketball in the tournament, or at least his best basketball since the beginning of the season. So I think that provides some optimism. Obviously, I don't have it pulled up right now, but it feels like he shot around 30% from 3-point range. I think he's a better shooter than that, especially when you talk about the fact that he shot probably 90% from the free throw line. So you just look at those things. That's usually a pretty good indicator of how good of a shooter you are. Not exclusively, but not a one-to-one comparison, but can oftentimes be telling. So I think when you project him into year 2, I think he's a bench guy. He is in a similar role where he's going to be a little bit of a spark plug off the bench. I think with the development of his defense in year 1, he can be a defensive spark plug in addition to being a guy that can maybe come in and hit some shots. But if he can be a guy who can get up and shoot 35% from 3, I think he turns into a guy that's, a valuable piece off the bench for Tennessee's backcourt.
What when you pinpoint one thing Jordan Gainey should focus on to bring more to the table next year in Tennessee's rotation, based on also who the new personnel is going to be and who he's going to be surrounded with, what would be one thing you would emphasize if you're Jordan Gainey going into year 2 at Tennessee?
Yeah, I think there's kind of 2 things you look at. And one, just a simple thing of just, he just needs to hit more open shots. That would help things out a lot. I just don't see him being a guy that's going to become a dude that creates off the dribble a ton. And I think that's what Chaz Lanier is going to be on this team. And that doesn't mean if Jordan Gainey can't do it, it's not a good thing and it's not an addition, but I don't think he's going to be called upon to do it. So maybe what I would say more, and this is something I'm not sure I necessarily have a ton of confidence in him is being able to play 5-6 minutes a game at the point guard spot. It felt bad when he had to do it last year in meaningful games. You didn't feel comfortable. And Tennessee obviously didn't get a point guard in the portal because who would want to come play behind Zakai Ziegler when in the NCAA tournament, Zakai Ziegler is going to play minimum 38 minutes a game probably for the most part. So that's going to continue, but he's not going to play 38 minutes a game in the regular season. So someone's going to have to eat up those point guard minutes. And heck, maybe it's Bishop Boswell as a true freshman. Chaz Lanier, I think, can do some of it. But I think you're once again going to see Jordan Gainey kind of in that role where he's asked to shoulder the load of playing point guard. And now that he's played in the SEC for a year and he knows what it looks like, and he has another offseason in Tennessee's program to work on his body, I think there's reasons to think he can improve. Though, I'm not necessarily optimistic that he's going to become like a really reliable backup point guard as opposed to just a shooting guard that can handle the ball in short spurts.
I also just feel like it could be Jahmai, like in the final year. Like Jahmai's done it. Like I think in Jahmai handling that and bringing the ball up and stuff, it's like we don't have to ask Jordan to do that. I mean, it like you said, it could be Bishop Boswell. I'd be surprised if it's Bishop Boswell in his freshman year.
Well.
I feel like the plan is they're going to try Jordan first at that spot, right? Like, wouldn't you guess that's where they start things? Is Jordan filling those minutes and filling that role
in meaningful games? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think you talk about what they'll play 8 non-conference games that are bye games. I'm sure Bishop Boswell will get opportunity, or I imagine, I'm not sure of it. I imagine Bishop Boswell will get opportunities in those games as the backup point guard. But yeah, it feels like it's going to be Gainey because while Lanier can do it, when Lanier having to run some point guard takes away what he can do offensively, he's not a guy you want facilitating the offense. You want him being the guy on the wing that can score a bunch for you. So it makes a lot more sense that Gainey would be a guy in that role. In the early season games of meaning of significance, I guess I'm just trying to say I agree with your point that he's
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.